Okay, I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. I had a very hard time making this list. Reducing it down just to 10 figures was really hard because there were so many really good figures that came out this year that I was very happy with. And so that ends up making there being so many honorable mentions. And I just had the hardest time. I kept going back and forth between certain figures, and then I went, oh yeah, this guy came out this year. And then, like, I just kept on having the hardest time coming up with this list. There were so many great figures, like the Insecticons, Needlenose, there was freaking Shadow Striker and Animated Prowl, there was freaking Volvo Optimus Prime crossover figures, Beachcomber, there was DevCon, Shattered Glass, like, there were so many, way too many figures to really count, and I just had the hardest time making this list. So I just wanted to make it very clear, these are all of my honorable mentions. Every single figure that is showing up on here is all my honorable mentions. And again, I just had the hardest time coming up with this list. So some of these might be a little oddball to some people, and some of these might make sense. So let's just start it with number 10, so I'm not holding you guys here as hostages for too long. Now, first off, again, this one might be a bit of an oddball, but I have the kind of like a duo thing going on here. I have both Skyquake and Dreadwing together on the same number 10 because they are repaints of each other, but I will say I do love Dreadwing more. Dreadwing is my number 10, and you could say Skyquake's like number 11 or whatever because he's a repaint, but I just wanted to make it clear I do love these figures, and I love both of them pretty equally. That's why I had a hard time deciding, well, which one's the actual number 10. But it's definitely Dreadwing for sure. I just like his color scheme that little bit more, and it's probably also helped by the fact that his character appeared a lot more in Transformers Prime than any of the other characters, including Skyquake. So I'm a little bit more biased toward his character, but he is in number 10. So going in at number 9, again, this one might be a bit of an oddball to some people, but this is the Crossovers Frankentron. Now, this is already a heavy retool of one of my favorite Transformers molds of all time, the Siege War for Cybertron Impactor. So this figure I already knew from the get-go was going to be one of my favorite figures of the year, but I didn't expect it to be in my top 10. But again, that being said, I love the retooling. All the retooling and everything that went into this figure just made the Impactor mold so unique and really fun. And again, I'm a really big fan of the crossover figures, and I genuinely love the original Frankenstein movie. So like, it almost feels like this figure was like targeted towards me specifically. Like Hasbro saw this and they were like, oh boys, we got him. Briximus Prime, he's gonna buy this one for sure. Like, it felt like this one was catered to me specifically, because literally everything about it is something I love. I love the lightning effect, I love the new electro weapon, the retooling, it's based on a mold I really love. Like, they really got me with this one. Now going into number 8, again, some people might be surprised this is super high on the list, but this is the Legacy Evolution Leader Class Nova Prime. Now the reason why this character in this particular toy is on here is because I personally really loved this figure. I never got the Galaxy Upgrade Optimus Prime back from Siege, but I did pick up this one, so this was technically my first look at the mold besides the Ultra Magnus, retooling. But I genuinely really loved this figure, and I had a lot of fun playing around with him, and I love the wings, the big cannons, and also I really loved how, it's a comic book character. Like, I loved seeing Hasbro deep dive into more comic book IDW characters, and this definitely was one of those instances that really just made me like have to buy him for sure, and I am satisfied with my purchase. And also, just a little tease, Transformers comic book characters might be a little bit of a foreshadowing for the rest of the list. But first, I want to talk about Armada Megatron. Now, this guy isn't super high on the list because even though I do love him and I wanted to make sure he ended up in the top 10, he didn't end up very high in the top 10, like top 5, because he had issues I wasn't very happy with. Some of his posability is very limited, which is okay, but my main problem is the big horns on his head. They fall off way too easily, and it really makes me really mad how they just won't stay on. And I just really was getting frustrated about it, and it really kind of killed the figure for me. Like, part of me's tempted to just glue them in and just leave them in there, because I hate how they keep falling out, and I don't understand why Hasbro even did it in the first place. And now getting into number 6, we have the Shattered Glass Rodimus. So I was already a big fan and a sucker for black repaints, And I was also a big fan of that Studio Series 86 Hot Rod figure. So when they said that it was getting repainted as a shattered glass black Rodimus, I knew immediately it was going to be really good. That was until I actually saw it in person, and it turned out to be better than I thought. The paint and the colors, it just... Oh, it's my kryptonite. It just absolutely kills. Black repaints are they are the bane of my wallet, because they're really just the same toy that I already own, like, once or twice over, but they're just done in black and purple and sometimes in a couple other colors. But, like, I don't know what it is, but this one in particular was one of the big standouts for black repaints this year. And going into number 5, we have another comic book related character. We have the minor Megatron from the Amazon Origins 2-packs and whatnot. This was my number 1 figure I wanted out of all of them, and the reason why this is on the list is not just because I'm a big fan of the comics, but I've just always wanted a pre-Decepticon Megatron. I've always wanted a Megatron that's like before he became a big Decepticon, either a Gladiator, a Miner, or like, I've just always been fascinated by Megatron's origin story, and so I've just always wanted to get this figure. And so when I saw that this figure was coming out and it was based on the Amazing Siege mold, I knew I had to get it, and I was not disappointed. He does seem a little top-heavy, and he falls over because of his weak heels, and apparently his knees might be misassembled or something, but I was still very satisfied with this figure when I got him. Now getting into number 4, again, I had a really hard time, and I kept moving these figures around because I had a hard time deciding which would be in the top 5, but I have Leo Prime as my number 4. I was very satisfied with Leo Convoy, and I am very happy that I finally have a great action figure of him. And of course, I did have to grab his Copy Convoy repaint, but overall, I love the Voyager class. It definitely was one of my biggest highlighted figures of the year because I love just how many bells and whistles this guy has. He has all the necessary features. Like, Hasbro could have if Hasbro included any other features or any other blast effects, this guy would have definitely been higher on the list. Now getting into number 3, we have my best birthday gift I ever got this year, the Titan class Metroplex. So I missed out on this figure from last year, but turns out I got him for my birthday this past year in 2023, and I am very happy with this Titan class. I wasn't going to buy him at first, but then I ended up getting him as a gift, and then I opened him up, and I actually ended up liking him. He's actually really flexible, he poses really well, the detail's great. Would have liked maybe a mini-con or something included with this guy, and also I found it kind of odd he came with no blast effects, but still, I'm still happy with this Titan class, and also I just wish he came with just a little bit more, but thankfully I didn't pay for it. Now getting into number 2. Some of you might be mad at me for this being at number 2 and not number 1, but this is the Armada Commander class Optimus Prime. Now, the only reason why this guy did not make it into number 1, trust me, number 1 and number 2 were neck and neck with each other. They were very close. The only reason this guy is at number 2, and again, it's literally the only reason, is because I was not really looking forward to this figure as much as the one that's in my number 1 spot. But I have to say, this is still one of the most fantastic figures that ever came out this year, and I'm glad that it got voted everyone's favorite figure of Transformers Legacy Evolution. Now getting into the notorious number 1 that I kept talking about. This is the IDW Tarn. Like, just straight up, I'm just gonna say it, it's Tarn. Because I have been wanting Hasbro to make a Tarn figure for so long, and even then, I thought they were never going to do it. I thought Tarn was never going to get made for like another 5 years, but no, Hasbro actually decided to make him, and not just that, but he turned out to be one of the best Transformers figures ever made. I do wish he was maybe a little bit bulkier, a little bit chunkier, but that being said, I was still super satisfied with this figure, and I was looking forward to this coming out more than the Armada Optimus. But again, he just wins that little bit only because I was looking forward to this a whole lot more, probably because it was more likely for me to buy this more than the Armada Optimus, because, you know, Armada Optimus is like $100 now, and this guy was only like 30, 35. But again, even then, those two were like really close to each other. And I have to give a shout out to Bludgeon, who also was a really good figure as well. Definitely a very high honorable mention who barely didn't make it into the top 10. Ah, you thought we were done here, but no, 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 no. We need to go over the S tier above number 1. It's the HasLab Deathsaurus. I mean, no one's gonna be surprised by this. I had the unboxing stream. I haven't done the review yet, but the HasLab Deathsaurus, he doesn't technically deserve to be in the top 10 because he's such an amazing figure that, like, he's kind of above that, so that's why I kind of put him above in, like, the S rank Goku tier, but, like, I just had to make sure I put him in the list somehow, just to mention how much I loved this figure. But anyway, that is basically it for the list this year. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. I know some of my picks were a little bit weird, but I feel like I should at least be the one to shout out some of these figures, because I feel like they're good enough that they should be on someone's top 10 at least, where some of these other figures are on other people's top 10s. But anyway, that is it for this video. If you guys liked it, give me a like on the video, comment below what you guys think, subscribe to the channel for more Transformers and action figure videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.